Ladies, gentlemen, welcome back to finally a new video. I've been really busy last couple of months, so I apologize for lack of content. But since it's almost Christmas and I have vacation, I have time again to make some new videos and I want to talk about level design. So I've been working on my game and I've been working on the second act of my second level, and I figured, wouldn't it be fun if I just document how I approach my level design? And that's what I'm going to do, right? So level design consists of multiple stages, and the first one is the design and purpose. So every level should have a purpose, right? In my case, as you can see, it's meant to introduce a secondary weapon to the player and introduce vertical gameplay. And it all starts with just simple sketching on paper or Photoshop or whatever makes you happy. Okay, what do I wanna create? What is the style of my levels? Like, is it gothic or is it cartoony, whatever, right? It's also to fit the game as well, of course, but in this case I wanted to go for a multi-tiered level. So I've got a basement, first level and second level, and the first and second level are meant to introduce the vertical gameplay, and the basement is meant for introducing the secondary weapon. So this is my basement design. It's very simple because the only thing I want to do there is to give the player the second weapon. My original iteration that I made is that the player starts here, and then you have a weapon over here, the second weapon is over here, and then there's a staircase leading up to the first level in this direction. That was the goal, right? So then you get to the first level, which is a giant cathedral, as you can see. Also has some thought behind it as well. So the thing here as well, you exit from here. So that means the first thing the player is going to see is the actual exit, which is over here. This is done on purpose, right? So the goal of the level is clear. Like, hey player, hey man, you need to go over there. But of course it's locked, so you first have to kill everything in the entire cathedral in order to unlock the door. But this is where you have to go. This is the goal of your journey in this case. So one thing to note as well is that every room here has multiple exits and multiple entrances. So you got an exit over here and over here as well, and here and here and here. This one was a little bit special at first because the player can go over here, and there's a elevator over here just for the player. This was meant just for the player itself. So the player can go up here and then go to the second level, but the enemies can't, right? So this was just meant for the player. Also one over here as well. So the player has multiple ways of getting towards the second level, which I thought was really great at first. But then get the second level here, which is nothing more than to give the player like an overview of the actual level itself. So again, the vertical gameplay comes to mind. So the player can shoot enemies from the second level on the first level to introduce the verticality. The big rooms over here were meant for like pickups, so you have like a health pickup or ammo pickup or whatever. And that was it. That was my first iteration. Okay, I want to do something like this, and just let's see how it goes. But so the second stage would be testing, right? So you make a blockout in Maya. I'll show you what I made here. It's just a simple blockout, nothing really fancy, just simple shapes. I just want to get the size right first. So my first iteration was twice as big, right? The exit was like over here, all the way over here, which I thought would be really fun to have like this really long hallway or like a really long cathedral, but it was way too long, and it took the player like 40 seconds just to get to the other side, right? Which is not what you kind of want to have. So it was too long, it wasn't compact at all, so I changed the size a little bit. As well, what I also want to do here is have like a sensation of like awe for the player. It's also a simple trick that they use as well in the actual cathedrals. When you make something really high, you have like a sense of awe, right? Holy shit, this is high, this is probably a really important building. Or it just makes people, well, back in days of the cathedrals, it was like a message to God, but it worked really well, right? So this really awe-inspiring high ceiling. In this case, it also has like a hole in there for lighting, I think. I don't know yet, but yeah. So the first thing that I did as well, what I immediately saw, is that my original design here on the second level, it was really boring, especially with like on the part over here. Let's delete this one. There was nothing here, right? There was just like an empty, it was just a plane that the player could walk on. It was really not interesting. So for simple composition, I added these arches to make it a little bit more pleasing to the eye, right? Because it's also a cathedral, and they always have like these arches as well, and it just look really, really cool. The second one as well, I changed the height of my first level because it was way too high. I thought, you know, the higher the better, right? Because then you get this really awe-inspiring, but it was way too high. It was out of reach. It felt it was out of reach, so it felt like it didn't belong in the actual cathedral. So I moved it down by quite a lot here as well, and I even made the ceiling even higher at this stage because I thought, you know, it was like over here, and it didn't feel awe-inspiring enough. So I raised it all the way up to here, which now works really well. But let's just go to the basement real fast because that's what the part that changed the most, to be honest. So in my original idea is that the player spawned here, and there's a weapon over here, and then the exit is over here, right? That was my first iteration, my first design. Like, oh, this is gonna be awesome. But I tested it, and I immediately figured out that this would not work at all. Because the player can just bypass the entire weapon, right? The player will, when you start the game, the first thing you'll see is the actual stairs leading up. So you're inclined to follow that staircase, right? Because you can't see the actual weapon behind it. So that defeats the entire purpose of the entire level immediately, because you don't get the second weapon. So that was kind of stupid. So what I did in this case, I actually just change the order, right? So I just made the player spawn here, and the weapon is like over here, and then you can go up to the actual first level, which worked much better as well. I'll just show you real fast. I'll hit play, because the staircase will be blocked, right? So you can't see, well, in this case you can't see the staircase because of the face calling. But so the player spawns here, there's an exit over here, or the entrance, because the first X will end up in here. And then you can just walk around here, you'll see the staircase, but in this case here you'll see the weapon, right? I'll just add like a light there and the particle systems just to make sure the player is forced almost to see the weapon. And what you can also do is just add a cutscene as well. It's a little bit cheap, but you can add a cutscene here that the player will look at the actual weapon, like, oh hey, there's something cool, I should pick it up. When the player picks up the weapon here, they'll spawn an enemy. This is also done by design. It will be done by design, because you want to have the player get a feeling of the actual weapon, right? You want them to test the weapon before you throw them into the deep. So this will give the player a little more confidence, like, how does the weapon actually work? For example, like Doom did this actually really well to Doom 2016. They played this really short animation of how the weapon actually works and what it looks like. It's really cool. It works really well. So give the player confidence in the actual weapon, like, how does it work? Oh, it actually works really cool, etc. Right? So then you go upstairs here, and again the first thing you'll see here is the exit, right? And all the way back you have the exit. What I added here, right, is also a frame around the actual exit. So there are 2 frames. There will be 2 frames, one over here for the organ, and there will be a frame around the door itself. So you have a frame in a frame. This will make the goal really obvious, and you can also add like a light there as well, just to emphasize, oh hey man, this is the exit, this is the goal of where you need to go. Also, thing that I did here as well is the exit here is centered for the player, right? The exit is in the center view, so there's no weird direction you have to go, like this is where you go, this is really straightforward, this is the exit, this is where to go. So the player will be inclined to go over here. You can't see it right now because I turned it off, but there's like a box here, like a giant trigger box that will trigger all the enemies in the level to attack the player. So the player first has to get rid of all the enemies before he can go through the door. And it works really well. So I tested as well with my enemies as well, and it works really well. That you're too busy with the actual killing of the enemies instead of thinking about, hey, I need to go to the exit. So it's forcing the player to kill before doing anything else. So by the time the player is here, the door here will probably close, so you can't go back to the basement again because it's locked. You don't want to go there. And the biggest iteration that I made, especially on this part in the first level, it's actually really stupid when I think of it, because I didn't think of it before, is that my why it's not working? Oh, my enemies were stuck on the first level. It's stupid when you think about it. When you look at my design, right, the blue ones over here are again meant for the player, right? This is just for the player to actually get to the second level. but there's no way for the enemies to get to the second level. There's like no staircase, no actual path for them to go to the second level. So the enemies were always stuck on the first level. They could not get up, which is kind of stupid, right? So because then if the player gets to the second level, he'll win, right? He just keeps shooting at the enemies and he'll win. So that's kind of stupid, right? So what I did here is I added stairs. Really simple. I added staircases, so the player can now, or the enemies can go up now as well, and also the player can go up as well. Let's see if the lighting still works. I think it just broke it. Oh, there we go. So I added stairs here, so I'm gonna go up here real fast. I added on both sides 2 staircases, right? So there's one over here, and one on the upside as well. One here as well, of course. And this is just meant for the enemies, right? This is just meant for the enemies or the player by choice, because I want to give the player the choice. Okay, do I want to take the stairs because they're really long and you get stuck, and I don't want to get stuck because they don't get killed. So it's choice for the player, like, hey, do I want to go to the second floor? If you do that, you'll see that there's like health pickup over here, and I'm just get rid of some health and you can pick it up. But it's a choice, right? So you give the player the option to go there or not, but it's mostly used for the enemies, so they can get up as well. So, but if the player knows this, right, so the enemies are always forced to take the stairs, you can just camp around here and just pick them up one by one when they get up the stairs. So it doesn't really work, right? It's just a little bit too easy. So what I also did here as well, I added those platforms that you can see on the opposite side here. I just showed that. Those are again only meant for the enemies, right? So the enemies can jump up here, from this one to that one, to back up to the second level. So the enemies have multiple ways of getting up to the second level to make it a little bit more exciting, a little bit more dangerous for the player. Otherwise, it's too easy when you just pick it up. When you pick off the enemies one by one and win. You don't want that. So the elevators, well, you can see here as well, right? So in my first design, just go back to Photoshop real fast, this one, you can see that there is only one exit, right? So there's only one exit over here to get to the platforms. That didn't work as well as I hoped, right? So I opened up the door here as well. So you can now see my actual level design. There's now also a gateway here. This was just done so the player doesn't get stuck, because my elevators, right, if you if you trigger them, they'll go up. So and if you're here in battle, you'll have to wait for the elevator to come down again, which didn't really work, right? So the player can just escape through the exit or take the elevator to the second floor. Again, multiple entrances, multiple exits as well. So there's done for everything here as well. So this part of here, multiple exits, multiple entrances. And I also introduced this one over here as well, this jump board almost in the middle, so the player can actually cross the gap instead of going all the way around every single time. You have to go here, you know, that's really long and tedious. You don't want to do that. Just get opposite side. So I added a platform here the player just can jump on. Did the same here as well, and the opposite side here as well for the organ. The player can also jump across here as well. So it's just a different way for the player to cross the gap. And what kind of artwork I'm going to use for this, I don't know yet, but we'll have to figure it out when the time is there. But it's probably something like they can see for the window cleaners nowadays. They just have like this lift that you can go up to as well. These spots over here, this will be like a pickup. There's a health pickup right now. Let's just get some of my health. There you go. And they're also meant for actually this one has a different purpose. This one again is to make sure to the player that, hey, the exit is over there. So when he leaves over here, there will be like armor pickup. When he leaves, you can see the exit. Well, you can see it clear right now, because I actually want to change this spot over here. This spot over here, the ground here, because I want to make sure that the player, when he's up here, that he can see the exit really clearly. Right now, you can only see like the small like triangle shape over there, but I want to be able to see the entire exit. So what I'm probably going to do I'm probably going to grab this one over here and just, you know, push this back like this, maybe even more. So the player, when he's standing over there, he can see the actual exit all the time. Which also means that I have to change this part here as well, but that's fine. And again, this is done by framing as well. So you got a frame in a frame, in a frame, in a frame. So it's 4 frames for the actual exit. Just to emphasize, like, hey, this is the exit, this is where you have to go. And you can see as well, I just use really simple meshes and geo, because you don't want to, this is the blockout stage, right? This is just meant for testing. This is the only thing you want to do. It's like, hey, does my level work? Does it feel good? Is the height good enough? Does it need to be higher? Does it need to be wider? How long does it take to actually go across the map, for example? All simple things that you don't want to create fancy artwork for, because at this stage you don't care. It's about the feeling and the actual combat, so you make sure that you also test with the enemies as well. So I added them in here as well. It's right now, turn them off. But make sure that you test. This is, I think, my 50th iteration of the actual level. It's not done yet because I just realized now this part of here needs to be changed. But at this stage, I feel confident enough that I can start creating the actual artwork, which will be the next video. But testing, I can't express how important that is for level design. You need to test it every single iteration and just take it step by step. So in this case, I started at the basement and I just noticed that, hey, this doesn't work, I need to change it. How do you change it? I changed it, didn't work, I changed it again, and now it works much better, but only because I tested it hundreds of times. And it works, right? So this is the trigger actually. Yeah. Also, it's only about functionality, right? You don't want to create like fancy stuff in here. You just want to get everything working. So I also created this global combat trigger to put every enemy into combat, and I also worked on the actual elevators as well. So they need to function before creating artwork. Everything needs to work before you actually can say, hey, this works or not, right? Because if something is not working, you don't know if it's gonna work at all. You kind of defeat the purpose of a gray box / blockout, whatever you want to call this, or a white box or vertical slice. Get things working before creating artwork, because then you know what you need to add for your actual level and what you don't need. So again, the next video will be about more advanced modeling, how to create those arches that we just saw in the video. Then we're going to do texturing, sculpting, lighting, optimization. We're going to do everything, but for now I'll just say, if I don't see you again, have a nice Christmas. It's a little bit early for this, but yeah, have a nice Christmas for those who are watching this before Christmas. And I'll see you guys soon.